What's going on, everybody? You are watching Just Talking with Johnathan Lewis. Thank you guys for joining us. We're showing today because we missed yesterday. There was an unexpected something that happened, and so here we are today. But thank you guys for joining us anyway. We got a really good show for today. There's been a few things in particular that I want to talk about that have happened over the last week. And many of them we've already discussed. We've seen plenty of discussion, but I'm just going to give you my little 2 cents about it. But before we go anywhere else with moving forward, we are going to give a shout out to Mr. Rush. I almost did it again. And we were talking about, what's going on, man? How have you been, sir?
Same old, making money.
How's your week been? Been going good?
Been going good. Been going slightly. I had some personal problems.
Yeah. But it's good otherwise, though.
It's all good.
All right. We don't have any guests today, so today you get to listen to me just talk, yap a little bit. So I'm going to jump straight into things. Whew! That nervous thing, let me tell you, it always kind of throws me off at first. I get it every single time, and I don't understand why. But you know what, before I move into my topics, for those of you who don't know, I recently bought a couple of chickens, and I am working on, get my notepad up here, see, this is me being unprepared. My boss is going to end up getting on to me or something. I bought a couple of chickens, and I just finished their coop the other day, and if you know anything about chickens, message me and let me know, because I don't know enough about chickens, and I feel like there's more I need to know. They seem relatively simple to take care of. I've done a lot of YouTube tutorial watching and things like that. But if you got any inside pointers, let me know. It seems like everything's really cool with them, though. I think my main concern is the heat. So you guys are probably like, what in the world is he talking about? He's talking about chickens today. That's what the show's about. The main topic is chickens. Thanks for watching. This just in. Okay, so I'm going to move on. So the first thing I'm going to jump straight into is a topic everybody's been talking about, which the lady just actually gave a response. The couple just gave a response, which is the family, or the husband and wife couple that went to the restaurant. I can't remember which one. I'm not going to give them a shout out anyway. To get a meal, and they were confronted by people because apparently the woman accidentally bumped a 15-year-old child on her way out of the door, and ended up drunk. Long story short, the woman pulled the gun out. You know what thing I'm talking about?
I do believe so.
Yeah, everybody I think knows about it by now. Initially, the first video that was released by the victims, I'm going to put that in quotation marks here, the first video lacked a lot of what the second video release had. And initially, I think everybody was kind of taken by it, because from what we could see, it just goes to show how much emotion can lead people's decision making. Because at first, I think everybody was kind of boom, down that lady's throat. She pulls a gun out. She's confronted for bumping into a child, a 15-year-old walking out of a restaurant from after she's picked up some food. The mother of the 15-year-old, and I believe the sister, I think, of the 15-year-old, confront her outside, and they don't allow her to enter her vehicle. The husband is in the vehicle because the wife was going in to pick up the food. When the husband realizes what's going on, he gets out, walks around the vehicle, and he opens the door to let his wife in the car. So she gets in the car. The husband goes to get back in the car, but on his way to get back in the car, now the mother of the 15-year-old not flinches at him, he kind of flinched at her a little bit. If you ask me, that's my opinion. It's not that he flinched at her, but it was more like he kind of started to take a step and then realized he had to control himself, stopped, and turned around. But regardless, he was trying to leave the scene. He was trying to leave with his wife. They were just trying to avoid the situation as a whole. Everybody that I've talked to, once the second video came out, showed or maybe not all of it, but the majority of what really happened. At least a lot more of what really happened. Once that second video came out, everybody's opinion shifted. This is a white couple. This is a black family. In the first video, the black family is trying to, or at least the mother is trying to accuse the woman of racism that bumped into her daughter because she wouldn't apologize for bumping into her. Now, mind you, she could have just apologized if she bumped her. I mean, it really all blew up into something from nothing. It never should have become what it did. But it could have been avoided for that. That's my opinion on that. Nonetheless, they accuse her of being racist, which honestly I didn't get that vibe at all. And I think she even said some things to the effect of that seemed believable and authentic to me, genuine, that she's not racist, and nor is her husband. the issue that everybody has is that that couple was arrested. Now everybody knows that they were arrested. Everybody's, like, that's screwed up, man. Let them out, let them go, and that's cool. They did let them out, but they still have to go to trial and all that. It's really a screwed up circumstance because they really had this horrible picture painted of them very quickly. And honestly, before I think even any kind of investigation was really done, they called the police. Once the van left, because they drew their weapon on the family, told them to back up because they felt like they were in danger, according to what they say. And according to what the scene was, I would have probably done a similar thing, especially if my family was involved at all. But which actually, what everybody doesn't realize, because the video doesn't show it, is that the husband and the wife both drew their weapons out. They only show in the video the wife, or the wife draw her weapon out, but actually both of them drew their weapon out. Like I said, I probably would have done the same thing if a bunch of people were rushing me, because it ended up being more than just the mom, the sister, and the 15-year-old that were putting pressure on them. Apparently, there were a couple more people who walked up as well. So being in that position, I probably would have been concerned for my life as well. So, but they got arrested, and the reason they got arrested, I think, seems like it is because they had the opportunity to leave, but they didn't. And I guess that's because the lady was behind the vehicle. I don't know. Honestly, in the end, I think what's going to ultimately end up happening is I think that the case is going to end up getting dropped. They didn't discharge their firearms. They didn't actually threaten everyone, I think, in a way that was as being an aggressor. Because once if you're backing up and somebody hits your vehicle or taps your vehicle, they're indicating that they're behind you, whether they're mad or not, you stop. Now, if under the normal circumstances, I think if something like that happened, not being in a particular type of situation, most people would move. But the sister didn't move after she hit the back of the van, so both the people exited the vehicle to make them move, which, in my opinion, it's not wrong. They're trying to leave the situation. Of course, I'm no attorney, but, I mean, if you look at the evidence, they're trying to leave. They're being stopped from leaving, and then they're being aggressed. It just doesn't seem sensible to me to really have even arrested them and charged them without investigating it. I just don't get it. And everybody's viewpoint is different on that. I think when you look at it in terms of what the law is going to see it as, they're probably going to let it go, I think. But I could be wrong. I mean, given the climate of today's circumstances, I could be entirely wrong. Man, this thing is already dropping down, Mr. Rush, my charge on here. I didn't charge my phone before the show. Amateur mistake. Amateur mistake. It's horrible. If I don't know. I'll move on. I'm going to move on anyway. This is something that was in the news about a week or so ago. I haven't heard anything really since then. I think one or two articles came out after that, but not really much else. I'm still a little bit warm in here. We've got a couple of upgrades, but not maybe, well, I don't know. I mean, it's feeling pretty good over there, isn't it? Yeah?
Thumbs up, loving it.
Maybe during the break I'll fix something up. Anyway, y'all are probably wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Don't worry about it. Okay, so Trump's son's girlfriend, his Donald Trump Jr.'s girlfriend, tested positive for coronavirus. And did you know about that?
I did not.
Yeah, she tested positive for coronavirus, and Trump's senior campaign manager, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I wrote that note correctly. His senior campaign manager, they both tested positive. Now, Donald Trump Jr. Has tested negative, of course, but I just look at how close this is getting to Trump, and I wonder if he never gets it, why, and if he does get it, then what, what happens then? And speaking of COVID, because COVID has to have its time, which I'm sure I'll probably go into it again, once we get there. Or once I say something else that triggers another COVID thought. You can add COVID in front of everything now, and it kind of works. COVID Cola. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. It just sounds like it works. Cues. I like cues, man. Cues are good. Where was that going? I just had a straight moment there. COVID. Which part of COVID? Oh, yeah. As it gets closer to Trump, I just wonder, like, okay, if he gets it and something happens, what's going to happen? I guess, it's different for everybody, which that's the point I was getting at. In the beginning of COVID, if you guys saw anything that I was sharing on social media of what was happening in China with COVID, is it just me, or are the things happening a lot different than all the stuff that we were seeing come out? I was talking the other day. As a matter of fact, shout out to Willie Mack for letting me come on to Opinion Not Fiction and talk with them and chat with them a little bit. It was a cool show, and it was really cool being there. I enjoyed the discussions and all that. It's nice to actually have people there with you. I can't wait till we bring guests back in. I just got to get some things in order, and then we'll have that happen. Anyway, damn, I just went blank like that. This is going to be called Just Forgetting and keep doing that shit instead of just talking. Anyway, COVID, yeah, we'll get back to that shit at some point. I'm going to move on. We're going to be taking a break in a minute anyway. Okay, so all of the things that have been taking place since George Floyd, all of the protesting, all of the, I don't want to say the riots, because the riots really are a negative side effect of protesting, I think, more than anything. And I suppose they serve their purpose, but I don't know. I'm just not really in favor of the protesting. I am in favor of people understanding and learning the systems that are in place so that they can actually do things to change them. Which brings me to my point. There's a lot of show of support for the black cause right now, for not just black lives, but black people in general. And making things equal and fair, and really that spans across the board for more than just blacks. It's just right now the attention is with blacks because of the fact of the things that we've been going through. But when you really think about the impact of what's going to come from that, it spans across the board for everyone, because it really comes down to civil rights, and civil rights comes down to human rights, and it works out for everybody that way. With all of the show of support, how long is it going to take before we actually change the system? We hear a lot of things, and we've seen some places like Colorado implement new things. Seattle is doing away with their police department. Oklahoma City has done some reforms. They're going to be defunding their police department. I think almost $1 million. Not quite, but almost $1 million, which some people are not in favor of that. In fact, I think a couple of officers have quit because of that. I think they said something like 10, if I'm not mistaken. 10 officers have quit. Somewhere around that neighborhood. I think they said something like they have like 10 officers usually turn their badge in a year on average. And they've already pretty much met that for this point of the year already. We are looking at defunding police, but what are we changing in terms of the policy that's in place that actually makes it where things are offenses? And who's sitting down, and when are we going to sit down to determine what offenses and what things are going on and that need to be changed specifically? Because when you talk about the law, it comes down to very particular things. It has to be very literal. So if you're talking about changing law, you have to really sit down and say what portions, what pieces of laws are already there that we're not changing, what things are we changing and how, and what new things are we going to be putting in. We keep hearing about, about the movement, but we're not really hearing too much about the policy. I feel like communities have to come together to do that. That's about people. That's about us as people all saying that. Now, I'm not against police. I'm not. I like police. I enjoy police. I've been good friends with some police officers. I'm not anti-police. I think that what I am is I'm anti-corrupt. And that means if you're a police officer who does wrong, then you're corrupt. And if you're a politician who does wrong, then you're corrupt. We're going to talk more about that when we get right back. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be gone for about 1 minute, so don't leave. See you in a minute. Just for canines and kitty too. We have all of the best items for your cat, dog, pup, or kitten in stock. From pet beds to toys, we have everything you can think of. We carry the best selection of pet hygiene products and a huge selection of cat and dog foods. Spoil your pet by letting us give them the full treatment from massage to complete bath and grooming. We also offer our mobile grooming services. Be sure to stop in today or give us a call. Just for canines and kitty too, your pet's favorite place to go. Your small business is ready for the next level of marketing. Having the right tools in hand can help catapult your business into the place it deserves to be. From custom commercials that are ready for broadcast to the professional voiceover that you need for your business phone recording or radio commercial, we build it all in-house. Sign up with us today and see how all of our plans offer exactly the tools that you need. And more importantly, they don't break the budget you set for marketing. Call and visit us online at lookandlawton.com today. Let's get your business to the next level. lookandlawton.com. All right. Thank you guys for coming back. I just got to point this out real quick. You know, when the mic is hot, Mr. Rush, you know when you yell it goes over the mic.
That's why I said it right before I turned it.
Oh, all right. See that? I got to stop acting like I'm doing his job for him. He's over here. Yeah. My fault. I'm sorry. We're going to write that in the notes at the end. Stop trying to do his job for him. It's like driving from the passenger seat. I'm good for that shit, though, too. I ain't going to lie. I'm good for driving from the passenger seat. Because if I don't feel safe, I'm going to tell you. And I'm going to tell you through my body language. My hands hit the dashboard. Feet be pressing the floor real hard. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, man. You're driving too fast. And really, you just be doing the speed limit. I just don't like to not be in control of the car. I don't know if that's a bad thing, a good thing, a control thing, or a paranoid thing. But either way, it makes me feel safer when I just express myself that way. So here's the deal. The policy. We have to look at things, not just with police reform. It's not just that. Okay, so the other day when I was on Opinion Not Fiction, we were talking and I had said something to the effect of that we have to start looking at the fact that we are the age of people who deal with politics now. When we're all younger, we're like, I don't mess with politics. It's for old folks. I don't mess with politics. We have to. We should see that more now than ever with just this year. We should be involved in one way or another. Whether you get up and you go vote, whether you're writing legislature, something, you don't have to be in an office position to actually make a change or do something. It starts with the small things. And I know we all like to think about getting out and helping our community and doing all these things like that, when we talk about helping one another. But there's roles, and nobody's designated a role. You pick your role, and you help that way. If you think you would be good at writing legislature, you should do that. If there's an important topic that you may not be able to write legislation for it, but it's something that's serious and needs change, that needs to be addressed, find the person that does, and then bring that to their attention, and then you guys sit down together and write it out. But what we really have to start doing is looking and reevaluating what change really means. What does change really mean? It doesn't mean for us to sit around and wait for someone to be like, let's do this now. It means for us to stop and reevaluate everything that we're doing as individuals. You can't expect a system to change if you're not going to change. If you don't change how you live, if you don't change, your perspective on things, and not just through experience, but try to find more of a reality beyond what you've understood it to be, because there is. I think that's the thing about getting old and gaining wisdom, is that wisdom, when you really think about it, is the ability to explain understanding. There's an underlying reality for all of us that's the same. There's a lot of people that say, no, reality is based on perspective. And the thing is that if you say you were to die, your perspective goes with you. But it doesn't alter the reality that everyone else existed in with you. It didn't change that. It changes their perspective on life, perhaps, if you impacted them that way. But it doesn't change reality. We have to find more of a unified reality of something that makes sense for all of us. And when we do, then we can really start saying, well, what kind of things can we change? What can we implement to make things better for all of us? Because the reality is that a life is a life. I mean, think about it. People get mad when you kill animals, right? Maybe not everybody. Some people don't. Some people don't care, and to each their own, I suppose, because they hold that life as lesser than theirs. But nonetheless, if you say, what did you do to that thing once you've, removed its life from it, you killed it. The same thing you would do with a person. So life is life no matter what, when you bring it down to it. You squash a bug, it's life. So what we need to do as a species is we need to stop waiting for something to change and start discussing what needs to change, and then start asking each other, how would you go about doing it? Here's how I would. And then see where we can make things line up. Look at the system right now and the way that it is. Fortunately, we have local governments that I think in most cases do much better for helping people live. If we were reliant on the federal government to actually make things how we live, we would really be pretty screwed in America, especially right about now, because a lot of things are showing their true faces for far worse than they ever were before. There's always been some sort of corruption here or there. There's always some conspiracy. There's something going on. If we're ever going to change that, it's going to take us really stopping and saying, you know what, I've had enough. Enough is enough. Have you had enough? Because it's kind of like, imagine if you were on say a sports team, and every game y'all go and you play and you all try your hardest, but there's always one guy who deliberately kind of just is like, I'll play, enough to get my play time, but I'm not really worried if we win. I just want to get out there and run a couple good plays to make myself look good. In essence, that's kind of what's happening here. You got people who are filling their pockets. They're making, they're doing whatever deals they're doing, and all these investigations are happening. And I'm like, how are all of these investigations taking place on all these politicians, and yet they're still in office? Yet they're still supposed to be leading. And then I look at, how does it not frustrate everybody? How does it not agitate people to a point where they say, you know what, there's got to be something I can do, and even if that's just go vote. For all of the stuff going on right now, I'm sure voter registration went up. In fact, I'm pretty sure I read some articles that did say that voter registration was going up, and that hopefully people did vote more. But why isn't everybody? Now, I get, I got to work, I can't do this, but also remember that if you are working, a job has to let you go vote. It's illegal for them not to. So, just find what you can do and do it. If you aren't doing something in politics, help somebody who is. If there's somebody that you support something they believe in, if there are organizations around your town that are doing things that are helping to spread a political message that supports something you align with, do it. I'm not saying right side, left side, or whatever other sides there may be. I'm saying do something. If we keep leaving all of the voting to be done by the same people who have always been doing the voting, we're not going to see anything change. And if you know somebody that is, say they're up and coming, they're growing, they're trying to make changes, and they're young, encourage them to do something in politics. If they think that way, if they're wise, if they're smart, if they're intelligent, if they understand, and they're young, because the way things are right now, somebody could get in a position to be in there for 30 years. Let's stop letting it be corrupt people who have been there for the last 30 years. Because people who were there back in the 90s and working their way there, or even the 80s, how far is that? 80s? Yeah, at least the 80s now, right? That far back. They don't think like we do today because things are very different than they were back then. That was 30 years ago. Hell, even 20 years ago. 15 years ago, 10 years ago, now you're kind of like, okay, we're pushing towards to where we're at today. So, if somebody just got in there 10 years ago, if they're doing things that are good, just support them if they fall in line with what you're trying to do or what your thoughts are. But do something. We need to, or we're going to keep seeing things get worse and worse and worse. And then I'm not going to lie, man, that's going to bring me to one of my other topics, and I want to get on that, but I'm not going to yet. I'll bring mention to this one. COVID-19 again. Back in June, there was a mom who took her 17-year-old daughter to a church COVID party. What ends up happening is a few days later, the girl dies. Her daughter dies. So, because she gets COVID, and the mom self-treats. She's trying to self-treat her at home. I guess taking care of her symptoms as best as she could, and then also giving her hydroxychloroquine. She ends up taking her to the hospital, at which point, not too far after, she passes away. The mom ends up where she ends up basically saying that, her daughter's like a hero and stuff like that. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, what in the world would possess you to deliberately take your child and put them in the circumstances of getting this virus on purpose? Like, nobody knows. Yeah, okay, so 70% of people are asymptomatic. You're never asymptomatic until you have gone your entire life to your death without showing any symptoms of something that you're carrying. That is the only way you can be asymptomatic. You cannot be asymptomatic otherwise, because asymptomatic means absolutely no symptoms, none. Now, if you say you caught SARS-CoV-2, you're carrying it and it becomes COVID, but not an extreme case. Say you get a fever, it goes up to 100 degrees, 15 minutes, goes away. You're good to go from there. Nothing else happens. That's a symptom. And if you were carrying the virus and the virus contributed to you having this symptom, then you are not asymptomatic. For a time, you were pre-symptomatic up until you had symptoms. Whether you realized it or not, you were symptomatic. It just wasn't severe. It wasn't a serious case. There's a lot of the throwing the word around, 70% of people are asymptomatic, and in reality, there's far less people asymptomatic. There's just a lot of people who don't have a lot of serious symptoms, if at all. I would never put my children in that situation. I would never deliberately take them and say, let's go do X, Y, Z, and if you get it, then I'll treat you and take care of you, and you'll be good to go. Why would I take that risk? You're talking about there's people dying all over the place from this still. And while the numbers are low in some places, they're spiking pretty badly in other places. I haven't even checked the numbers for today. I meant to check them before the show, Mr. Rush, and I didn't.
Get it next time.
Yeah.
They'll be there.
I want to say it was yesterday, might have been yesterday morning. I think it was like 54 cases here in Lawton, where we live at. Yeah. As a matter of fact, you know what? Real quick, drop something down in the comments and tell me what you think about that, as far as the mom taking her daughter. And then, personally, do you think, here's the question for you, do you think that the mom should face some sort of charges because she took her with the intent of her getting it? Should she face charges for putting her daughter in that danger and then her daughter dying from it? Let me know what you think in the comments down there. We're down 2 minutes to the break, huh? Let's see. I'm going to wait on that one. Yeah. So anyway, to me, the whole idea was foolish. Obviously, it was foolish. But now, of course, I didn't see video of the mother and how she portrayed this, but her statements were really not taking account, at least the ones that they had in these particular articles that I read. She wasn't taking accountability for what she did. Not like she was denying what she did, but she was just kind of like, oh, well, let me put the attention on my daughter and how brave she was and how strong she was through this. And I get that, because as a parent, I would do that also. But at the same time, like, if your child died because of your decision, I kind of feel like there should be some point where you say, this is my fault. That's just me as a parent. I guess not all parents are the same. Are we about to toss it to break? Yep, tossing it to break. Okay, well, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in 1 minute. By the way, if you want to sponsor the show, feel free to send me a message and let me know. We can get your spots running in here. If you got a flyer or anything like that that you want people to see, then contact me and we'll jump into that and I'll give you some more info. All right, don't go anywhere. Be right back. Just for canines and kitty too. We have all of the best items for your cat, dog, pup, or kitten in stock. From pet beds to toys, we have everything you can think of. We carry the best selection of pet hygiene products and a huge selection of cat and dog foods. Spoil your pet by letting us give them the full treatment from massage to complete bath and grooming. We also offer our mobile grooming services. Be sure to stop in today or give us a call. Just for Canines and Kitty 2, your pet's favorite place to go. Bring your fur baby into Just for Canines and Kitty 2. We have all of the best items for your cat, dog, pup, or kitten in stock. From pet beds to toys, we have everything you can think of. We carry the best. We cover all of the details. Wax, wash, and shine, your vehicle is guaranteed to come out shiny. Let us pay attention to the detail. We're here to vacuum, wash, and deodorize your vehicle on a professional level. Don't leave it to the other guys to miss things. We see them all. Do you have a fleet of vehicles? We're equipped to take on all the vehicles your business has too. Keep your business vehicles looking the best they can. Stop by today and schedule with us or message us on Facebook. Full Throttle Detail, located at 1601 Northwest Sheridan Road in Lawton. We're back. No, we're not back. We're back yet. And now we're back. See that? Yeah, y'all heard me talking a little bit early. I did that. I did. I messed up. I get to write the notes on that one. That's how it goes. Okay, so anyway, all right. So the last half of the show, I got some pretty good things to talk about, and I really want everybody to drop their opinions on this one because 5%. Okay, let me go ahead and turn that off real quick. Set that down for a moment. Kanye West running for president. Mr. Rush, what do you think about that?
I think it's to steal votes from one or the other.
You don't think he's actually trying to be president?
No.
You know what I think would be hilarious? Because I think the same thing. I think that he's running so that he can split the vote so that way his friend can win. Because he's suddenly, I don't support Trump. But
yet he in the Oval Office.
Yeah. So I'm looking at this like, I think he's trying to run so that they can split the Democratic votes, because he's going to run as Democrat if I'm not mistaken. He's trying to anyway. From what I understand, I saw some people say online the other day that he's already missed the opportunity to get on ballots in some of the states. So he actually can't get some of the state ballots. But I don't think he gives a shit. I don't think he cares. Because all he's trying to do is split the votes so that way Trump can win. It's called cheating. But what would be hilarious, but at the same time terrifying, is if he actually ended up winning and decided, you know what, I do want to be the president. Could you imagine a Kanye West America?
Just looking at one concert.
Which one?
Where he stood on the platform and did that crazy talk. Oh, Lord.
You know, I'm not against the idea of I'm speechless almost. I'm speechless. I'm not against the idea of somebody off the wall running, you know, that you wouldn't expect. I'm not against that. But just not Kanye. I mean, the man made a clothing line, and don't get me wrong, somebody's going to be like, man, he rich, he balling, you hating, da-da-da. I'm not hating on him. I'm not. Props to him for everything he's done. He's done a lot of shit that all of us pretty much hope that we can work towards and earn ourselves one day in some ways. But his clothing line was deliberately designed to look like tattered up clothes, like run down, like slave clothes kind of shit. I just wonder what kind of things are in store in a Kanye West America. What do you guys think? What do y'all think he's going to do? You know, he's successful. I just don't really have a lot of points that I can be like, he could do this, he could do that, he could do, you know, I don't know. That's just me, though. I don't know. That's just me. I'm just going to move on because I don't really know. I don't really know what to do with that one. For those of us who live in our area, no, actually, this ain't even our area. What am I thinking? Hopefully they don't do this in our area. The Trump administration is talking about removing federal funding for schools that don't reopen. I can tell you right now, I'm not sending my children back to school. They will be homeschooled until I know that things are safe for them to be there. and that the circumstances are right for them to be there and be safe. I've got elementary kids. I've got one that's about to go to junior high. That's crazy. Did you know that? Did you realize that? Lenda's about to go to junior high. That's insane.
Yeah.
Oh, Anna is too, ain't she? They grow up too quick. That's why it's important to teach them about politics right now, though. Start teaching them all that. I don't necessarily like get into it and teach them like the hierarchies and all. You know, I'm not teaching them all that yet. But what I am trying to teach them is I'm trying to strengthen their values as people, so that way when they're older, they'll understand the importance of caring about everyone and trying to be as fair to everyone as possible. Because then they'll be able to recognize when someone's not. And hopefully at that point, enough of us will have started teaching our children so that way they're not getting screwed over by the politicians of their time, like we kind of seem to be with ours. COVID should never have gotten out of hand like it is. I'm not saying it's Trump's fault. He didn't bring it, but I am saying he ain't doing nothing to stop it, really. And the fact is that we look at the country and we say the United States has this surge of things going on. There's this many every day. We're looking at the U.S. as a whole. But if you look at other places of the world, they're looking at their countries, right? But look at most of those countries. They're the size of the states that we have here in the United States. You can really eradicate this state by state. It's about the leadership. It's about the understanding of what they're dealing with. It's about what they're learning. It's about really coming down to the people. Because if we aren't proactive in trying to eliminate and eradicate a virus, how can we expect it to happen? The government can't just show up at your door and say, hey, do this so that we can get rid of this virus. That's what we've been arguing about the whole time. People were worried about their rights. Then we have to make a decision to do the things. You don't want to wear a mask? You don't want to mandate it? Well, what are you doing to be proactive to not have to have one? Yeah, don't go to a lab and sit there and try to figure things out. I'm not saying go become a scientist overnight. What I am saying is together, if we start to do that thing that they told us in like elementary school. Brainstorming. That's what it is. If we brainstorm together, we might actually be able to come up with some solutions to things. Because the thing about a virus is that it can only be wherever it's at. Now, mind you, there's circumstances about it that might make it difficult to know where it's at. So we just kind of have to approach everything as if it's all there. But we got to do something. We can't just not do anything. We can't just keep waiting. We're waiting on people who are basically saying that they don't have the answer, and we're waiting on somebody to make their magical vaccine and give it to all of us. They've already said time and time again, these vaccines may not work. If they do work, they may not work permanently. And on top of that, if they do work, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're safe. They say it typically takes on average about 15 years to come up with a vaccine. We're rushing it in less than 15 months. Everyone who's making one. I think it's four different companies or something like that, I believe, that are making these vaccines, or 7 or something like that. I can't remember. You'll have to look that up. Let me know if you look it up. I'll take a look and see what you got and drop me some links or something. But all these people are fast forwarding this thing. What if we take the vaccine and it's like, oh, it works. That's great. And then, I don't know, some I Am Legend stuff happens. You remember that? Remember how that worked? They were fighting cancer, and they were killing cancer with the rabies virus. They said that the comparison that they made in that movie was, at the very beginning, was the scientist was saying that they basically, she says, imagine someone speeding in a car very fast. It's very dangerous. They said, now imagine the same situation, but with a police officer in the car. It's a little bit different, even though it's really not, and that's exactly the lesson they learned. So my concern is if you rush a medication, like a vaccine, and you give it to people, what could happen down the road that you can't test for? That's where my concern is at. So back to my point, I'm not sending my kids to school yet. All right. Oklahoma City is looking to recruit people who want to participate in a trial for a COVID vaccine. Did you know that?
I'm not doing it.
I believe they actually might be paying people too, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm still not doing it.
I'm not doing it either. Somebody asked me if I would. I'm like, nope, can't do it, won't do it, not about to do it, not even going to consider it. I'm not going to be the test dummy. I'm not going to be first. I'm not going to be probably ever, as long as I can avoid it. I'll figure out other ways somehow, because there are other ways, which is exactly how you would go about eradicating it. You have to figure out the method, but it's there. And in reality, the fact is that had the right steps been taken early enough on in the U.S., or anywhere for that matter, it could be eradicated. I haven't heard of anything about New Zealand having another case come up since they've eradicated it. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah, they eradicated it a month ago now at least. And I haven't heard anything else about new cases. I'll look into it some more. If you look into it, drop it down below and let me know. But I'm going to look into it some more so the next time I can update you guys on that anyway, because I would like to know, because if they figured it out, why are we not copying what they're doing? Oh, I know why. They probably required their citizens to be more participatory. That's the right word, right?
Sounds good to me.
Sounded good. If it's not a word, let me know that in the comments too. Yeah. So, yeah. COVID vaccine participant trial. I'm good. I don't think there's an amount of money you could give me to take that risk. I got kids to raise. You know, maybe if I didn't have kids, maybe then, possibly. I don't know. I doubt it. I doubt it. Yeah. If you would do it, let me know, and let me know why you would do it. Like, what risk? What's the amount of money it would take to make you do it, to try the vaccine out? Let me know. All right. Wonder Years. You ever watch the show Wonder Years back in the day? Used to be one of my favorite shows. I never missed Wonder Years. Never missed it. If I could watch that show, I watched it. It's getting a black reboot. Yep. Now, here's the reason I bring it up. I love the show Wonder Years. I don't doubt that the reboot will be great. But I'm kind of curious if everyone is, why the black reboot? You know, why are we making the black reboot? I just don't understand. I personally thought the show was great as it was. I didn't think it was, I mean, of course, look at the time it was in. It's probably why you don't see any black people in it. It was, what, the 80s, right? But still, I just look at that and I'm like, I don't quite understand. I don't think that I think with everything going on right now, there's a lot of black power. That's what I'm talking about. That's right. You know, make that damn reboot. Do it. Throw some other reboots out there. Throw a Black Transformers reboot. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Supreme Court ruled that the majority of eastern Oklahoma belongs to natives. Did you know that? They just turned over the power from a federal power or from the state to the native tribes. I can't remember which tribes specifically. I feel like it was Cherokee, but I could be wrong. I probably am wrong. You tell me what it is, because you can look it up. But yeah, so I was looking at this map, and it's quite literally almost half the state. So the article that I was reading was talking about this because there's been, specifically they had mentioned a guy that has served 20 years of a sentence for a rape charge that he did. He raped a 4-year-old 20 years ago, and he's doing like a 900 or 1,000 year sentence or something like that. Like, it was a crazy sentence, which it might even be more than that, come to think of it. But look that up. Anyway, he's serving that time, and so now they're having to essentially release him because it's no longer under the jurisdiction of the state. So now he might face federal charges, which means he's going to catch an even worse sentence, and he'll have to start it all over because he's already done 20 years on the one that he was issued from the state. I think that that's crazy, but the craziest thing about the powers being turned over for this portion of the state that's kind of like, whoa, is that there's a lot of towns and cities that are in these jurisdictions. The question comes down to, how do things change for them? You know, how is everything going to change? Because the laws that apply on native land aren't the same as it's been with state land, you know, while it was under state jurisdiction. So I'm curious to what kind of things are going to change. What kind of, what will we see implemented? You know, that's a big deal, because now you're talking about, it's a whole different set of laws to go under. Now, I'm sure that a lot of them are very similar, you know what I mean, in some ways, but what's different? If you live on native land right now, or you know people, or you've been raised there or something like that, let me know what kind of differences that you've noticed or that you know about, or where I can at least find that information. Because I would really like to know, you know, more about the kind of changes we're going to start seeing Oklahoma take, because it's literally almost half the state that's about to change. So that's pretty nuts. Another thing that the Supreme Court ruled on is employers can opt out of birth control when it comes to employee benefits. A lot of people are upset about that, and because they think that they're supposed to be it should be included in their benefits, their medical benefits. I'm kind of in the air about it, because yes, it's a medical issue, but why is it the obligation of your employer to be able to pay for your birth control when the things that get you pregnant are typically by choice? Not always. Don't get me wrong. There's special circumstances. Then maybe that would be something that would be, something to consider. But I think in most cases, if you end up pregnant, it's probably because of your choices. Why should they be responsible for your choices? You know what I'm saying? If you want to get birth control, it's just like going to buy condoms. Go buy condoms and be good to go. Or get the pill or whatever it is you do, but pay the price for the pill. If you're that strongly in favor of having it paid for, it just makes me wonder why you won't pay for it yourself, because you just really don't want to breaking?
Pull out.
Oh, he said pull out. I was like, what is he doing over there? There's always that. It works sometimes. It actually works a lot of the time. Did you know that it's only a 35% chance of somebody getting pregnant if you finish all the way to the,
All the way to the end.
Yeah, it's only a 35% chance of someone getting pregnant. 65% of our seed might as well not even be in there.
Natural selection.
Natural selection. That's the beginning of it. Well, actually, I guess technically the beginning is, never mind. We're not even going to go into that conversation. That's... Moving on. Anyway, so they've ruled that they can opt out of birth control, or paying for birth control. So, what do you think about that? Do you think that your employer should be obligated to pay for that, as part of your medical benefits? Because I don't think it's just a matter of, hey, I need you to front me some bread so I can go get this pill for the month. I might be having a wild month, you know what I mean, or however it goes. I don't know. I don't take birth control. And that whole pull-out thing. We're not going to go there. Moving on. Oh, we already talked about that one. Let me mark that off. And we talked about that one. And that one. Woo, we're flying through these things. Dang. All right. If you guys got something specifically that you want me to talk about as if I know something about it, drop it down below. Because then I'll talk about it, and I'll pretend like I know something about it. Hopefully I might actually know something. Then I won't seem quite as, Oh, and we talked about Kanye. Let's get that off of there. This is a big deal. Another COVID thing. We're just going to call the show COVID Talkin. Jesus. I mean, it's just, I'm not going to lie. I don't watch sports. Now, I'm not against sports. I enjoy sports. I enjoy playing sports. And I do enjoy sitting down and watching them, but I'm not like an avid sports fan. It's just not my thing. But I miss different news. Everything is politics right now. Everything is COVID, and I get it. It's a very sensitive time. Things have to change. It's a shift taking place. But man, it would just be nice to hear something different for a little bit. You know what I mean? That I didn't have to go search for different. Like all the news outlets, all the apps I've got on my phone, it's just COVID this, COVID that, Biden this, Trump that. And I'm just like, man, who we still haven't heard much about is Jo Jorgensen. They're trying to keep her buried. And you know what I realized too that sucks for her is you can tell that she does not have the money that they've got. Because when you look at her materials for marketing that she's got, that I've seen at least, and this, mind you, this is sponsored ads on Facebook. And I don't mean to bash her, this is probably the reason she needs our support more. It's just low quality product. You know what I'm saying? It's low quality product. It's been chopped too much. No, it's just low quality. Like they need to really hire a team for her. So she just needs to find that right person that plays with video enough to say, you know what, I think I need to bring you on the team and get them on the team. Anyway, COVID survivors, back to what I was getting at. COVID survivors can never join the military. They have made it where they can never join the military as of May 2020, this year. So that's kind of a scary thought, because what if most people end up getting it and living from it? I mean, in fact, what if 70% of people who get it never show symptoms, according to what they're telling us all the time? If you survive it, that means you can't join the military. What's going to happen to our military as time progresses? What's going to happen? What's going to go on with our military in terms of the numbers? They're creating a circumstance, at least as of right now, where our military is going to diminish, because you get enough people who get sick, they probably are going to kick them out of the military. Once they recover, maybe, I don't know. Oh, which, you know what, that brings me to a point too. I saw this video of a medic and I shared it. It was a medic who was talking about, oh, you guys want to join the military? And he says, so this is what they're doing with us out here in the field, telling us to quarantine. They're not taking us anywhere, putting us somewhere comfortable, They're telling you, go lay down over there, and and he moves his camera to show this guy laying on the ground, and he says they're pretty much just throwing us out here and letting us just live with the symptoms and deal with it. And it's like they're just letting them be out there and die. And now, mind you, they're out there in the field, so that's a little bit difficult of a circumstance. But I don't know. I think these guys were training. I don't even think that they were like off somewhere. I think that they were training. And then they just had an area from tree to tree taped off with a piece of paper on it that says quarantine. That's shitty for those guys to just be stuck out there with that. And there's nothing they can do. You know, nobody can help you. You're just in that. And they're not getting you out of there, though. That's kind of where the shitty part comes in at. But yeah, so people can't join the military if they survive COVID. What if the majority of children end up getting it, or young adults end up getting it? What if it's something that spreads across the world, as we're all in fear of it's doing right now? We all contract it. Does that mean that at some point we won't have a military because you're not letting survivors join? If you're not letting survivors join the military, who's going to replenish the numbers? You know, and if they kick people out, then where are the numbers going? I mean, this is a time that we really need thinkers to be out here, and I mean deep thinkers. Like this can't be a matter of bronze right now. This has to be brains over bronze right now. You know, we have to be really thinking about the future and what things we're doing, not just with this virus, but everything in general, but specifically with regards to human health. What are we doing to, oh man, human health, bro. China got it all going on right now. Did you know? Okay, so they had that case of the bubonic plague, right? Did you hear about that, Mr. Rush?
No.
Yep, they had a case of the bubonic plague confirmed. The Black Plague in what was, I just went blank. When the Black Plague was conquering the earth, as I'm going to put it, it killed 25 million people. Now, mind you, the Black Plague is a bacteria. It's not a virus, so it's different. A bacteria is living, and a virus is not living. Now, there's going to be people who debate that. But it doesn't technically, to the best of, I think, what the general consensus is, it doesn't fit the definition for life. It's more like a shell that floats about that happens to carry RNA or DNA within it. Now, once it attaches to a living cell, it has the coding, essentially, to take over the cell and produce more virus. But the virus is not alive. It's the cell that's alive. And basically the cell accepts it into it as if it was a part of itself once it attaches to the right receptors in the right cells. And then that's how it happens. Where was I going with that? I just went totally blank. See, you know, that's why you watch. That's why it's worth watching, because you get to see that it's not scripted. It's real. I'm really forgetting shit. It's real. I'm going to move on. So military, yeah, that's a pretty shit deal, because, you know, it just is. I got to mention this because we're running out of time now. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Making my song out of it. Oh, new symptom or new discovery with COVID, real quick. Doctors have been performing autopsies since earlier in the year. I believe at least a few months ago, and people who've passed away from it, and they're finding that The typical areas of the body that we find blood clotting in, they're finding that it's happening in those parts of the bodies triggered by COVID, and it's also, though, happening in a lot of other parts of the bodies. Almost all organs are starting to show blood clotting taking place in them, which says something. But they're not exactly sure what yet. They're still trying to figure it out. But honestly, I think that that's probably what's contributing to the symptom of fatigue that people are getting, because you're not getting the right amount of blood to all your body, so it's kind of like leaving you weak, you know what I mean? And that's why it's extreme fatigue. But that's just my opinion. That's not something somebody said about that. I just put that together on my own. The last thing I'm going to talk about for a couple minutes here is Jeffrey Epstein. Thumbs up. Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell. So everything we're seeing about Jeffrey Epstein, especially like in the documentary stuff, they bring attention to Ghislaine Maxwell. I believe I'm saying her name right. Who was his former girlfriend of a previous time, and also like business associate in some ways. More ways than one, apparently. She was recently arrested, and she's also on COVID. She's on suicide watch, and they think that she might have COVID. I think that she might have tested positive, or I can't remember. Don't quote me on that, because I might be wrong. I might be mixing something up. But anyway, they did arrest her. She is being held. Her attorney is trying to fight for her to get out of jail on a $5 million bond. They're saying that that she has nothing to do with all of this Jeffrey Epstein stuff. They're saying she hasn't spoken to him in a decade, at least since his death, a decade prior. They're saying that. Now, mind you, one of the accusers has evidence, apparently, emails, I believe, between the two that date back to 2015. So she's saying she has nothing to do with it. She's saying this is a smear campaign, and that ever since he died or killed himself, that the media has been after her. They've been circling her house with helicopters. They've been basically telling her and all kinds of stuff. And there's the rumor supposedly that she's been hiding, which she kind of was in hiding this whole time, from the FBI or from the authorities. She says she has not been hiding from the authorities, that she's been in regular contact with the investigators for the entire case, and that she's been hiding from the media. I think it sounds like a crock of shit, honestly. And they're trying to say she's innocent. They're trying to paint her out to be this victim. I mean, nah, man, let's be real about it. Just don't let her die. Don't let her die. Make her testify. But what it sounds like is they're already working the way to get her out of testifying without killing her. If they can get her out without killing her, then that's better for her. But it sounds to me like they're really trying to paint a picture of she's innocent. She's just caught up in some craziness that he had going on, and which, mind you, there's all these accusers who have absolutely put her in scenes, there. They've said her. She did it. She was there. She participated. She helped get people on board. Whatever. You know what I mean? It just sounds like a big old crock of shit. It gets frustrating, because we talk about these same things for months and months and months and months and months, and I'm just like, we need things to start moving forward in a way that we see progress in a lot of things. If something happens to her and this whole pedophile ring doesn't get shut down, then it's garbage. It's garbage. We're about out of time. I'm going to go ahead and toss this out. I'm getting my cues back there. Make sure you guys check us out on YouTube, like us on Facebook. Hit that like button for me real fast right now. Come on. You know you want to. Hit the like button, share for me, and then also on YouTube we are just talking with Johnathan Lewis. You got to have the Lewis in there though, because if you don't have the Lewis, then it won't come up right for some reason. So search it there. You can catch all the old episodes if you haven't seen those, and then also like the page here on Facebook. Did I say that enough times? The big thumbs up. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys catch us next week on Thursday at a regular time, because it almost feels like a Thursday now. I've been yapping so much. Catch us next week at a regular time, 6 p.m. right here. And make sure you hit that share button and invite people to like the page, so that way they know when we're on also. Hit that little bell button down there so you know when we come on live. We'll see you next week.